He's passionate about helping people understand how Twitter can be used to discover great content, connect with others, and express themselves. Would you please welcome to the stage Mr. Nathan Berman, everybody. Start tweeting now. Tweet, 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 tweet. Here he comes. Nathan, good to see you. Get up there and start talking and tweeting, man.
Thank you very much. Great to be back on the Gold Coast. I grew up around here, and I can echo some of those stories around the buffets. I've been kicked out of the Sizzler at Mermaid Beach many times, an accessory to many thefts of my grandmother's. So yes, I'm Nathan, I'm from Twitter. Thank you for having me. We worked with the Australia Council on the second year of a great campaign around hashtag Australia Day, where we encouraged people to tweet their pictures of and share what they were doing on Australia Day, and captured that in a time capsule at the National Museum of Australia. So today I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about Twitter itself, take you through some of the results and the success that we had on Australia Day this year, and how that campaign's growing. And then hopefully just leave you with a few little tips and tricks on how you can actually use Twitter to improve your engagement, to get your message out there, and to make sure that your social media really sings. Can I ask before we start, how many people here are on Twitter? That's a lot more people than normally put their hands up, so that's great stuff. The slide I've got where I go through the anatomy of a tweet may be a little quicker than usual today. So just before I start, I just want to just play you a video with some of our founders and leaders of our business, just telling you a little bit about Twitter.
A very simple idea. We started because we wanted to see it, we loved it, and we kept building it because we wanted to see other people use it. There's a series of moments, there's no one big moment, and each time it's like, oh, that's happening? Well, that means this other thing.
We just never thought it would go this way, and I honestly think that's part of the reason why we succeeded. It's such a simple tool, yet people have done so many amazing things with it.
You're able to have these multi-directional conversations. You're not just broadcasting, you're there in the middle of it.
Make history here as the first president to live tweet. I'm using Twitter to send pictures of dogs from space, and every day I really enjoy reading your tweets.
There's an incredible leveling of the playing field that gives every voice the ability to echo around the world instantly, and that democratization of content creation and sharing facilitates these connections that we see every day around the world that we would have never seen before. The possibilities and the opportunities afforded by the platform are limitless.
You threw out some of the key stats around Twitter, both globally and in Australia. So we have 302 million global users. So they're people who are registered to Twitter, log in, come to the service once a month. But the other statistic we've recently started talking about is that there are another 500 million unique users who come to Twitter every single month who aren't actually logged into the platform. So these are people who might see a tweet somewhere else. There may be something going on that they want to come and search for information for. But it just gives you, I guess, a bit of a scope of just how big that audience is, both logged in and logged out, of people who are consuming Twitter content at twitter.com or on the mobile app. There are 185 billion views of tweets via syndication every 3 months, and I think that's probably a good example of just the way that Twitter content spreads both on the platform and off the platform. And by that I mean the fact that these days you barely can turn on a television show or pick up a newspaper or read a story online without seeing some kind of Twitter content on there. And as that video said, there are 500 million tweets sent every day, so 1 billion tweets every 2 days. So the volume of content is absolutely huge. When we talk about what makes Twitter different to other social media platforms, there are 4 key things. One is the fact that it's live, so there's nothing that is between you sending that tweet and the tweet getting out there in the world. It happens in real time, and I think this is really the perfect example of why Twitter is a great accompaniment to live events or to any kind of event that you might be running. It's public, so there's nothing between you and the Twitter sphere. There's no algorithm or edge rank that decides what the end user is going to see. If a user follows you and is looking through your stream or is on Twitter at that time, they'll see your content, so there's nothing to filter that at all. It's conversational, and we call Twitter the world's biggest couch, and I think one of the best examples of this is really around TV shows or, around live events where people get together to discuss what's going on. A great example I was talking about before, for anyone who follows or who's been even loosely associated with the NBA over the last couple of days, and the Australian player Delhi, there was 750,000 mentions of him within 24 hours, which is bigger than multiple state of origin. So it's actually pretty crazy how this global conversation can take hold. And it's distributed. As I said, tweets don't just live on Twitter. They can go anywhere. And I think that's testament to the fact that, everywhere you go, you'll see Twitter content somewhere. And I think that's something that's really quite unique to Twitter. Focusing more on Australia, we've got a pretty much parity split on men and women who are on Twitter in Australia, 51 to 49. There's not many other countries that are like that. So most of the other countries we look at for Twitter in the world actually have a bit more of a demographic split one way or the other. And then just looking at the age split on Twitter. So you can see there's a big group there between 16 to 34. But one of the really interesting things is that Twitter is actually across all age demographics. And I think that's something that really speaks to the heart of Twitter, which is it's based around interests. So we often say you are what you tweet. And whatever interest you're interested in, and thinking about what Stig was saying before around what groups sort of focus around now, which is some of those really sort of subgenres, there's something for everyone to find there on Twitter. Interested to hear, of everyone here who's on Twitter, how many of you actually tweet? So it's a much smaller number. And it's something really that is one of the great misunderstandings, I think, of Twitter. When I talk to people about Twitter a lot, they say, I've got nothing to say, or I've got nothing to tweet. It's really, what I find really interesting is that only 60% of our users send tweets. So the other 40% are there just to consume content. It may be to search for a trending topic that's going on. It may be to work out what's going on in the traffic ahead of them. But if you are thinking of giving it a go, it's actually a great way to really get in there and sort of work out how Twitter works and what interests are in there for you. So we talk a lot of Twitter about moments, and this can be anything from a TV show, it could be an election, it could be a local community event. And moments are really what Twitter's built on. This is where people come to discuss things in live, public, conversational manners. So with the amount of content that we have every day and the users that we have, there are billions of moments that matter to people all around the world every single week. Echoing again what Stig was talking about earlier, Twitter's now become a truly mobile platform. 80% of our active users are mobile users, so Twitter's something that goes with them everywhere. And I think something that really captures this is the fact that, and the numbers missing here, the average user unlocks their phone 110 times a day. So that's not an average Twitter user, that's your average mobile user. When I first saw this out, I didn't believe it, so I took a little tally one day, and I think I'm contributing more than my fair share of the 110. Kind of loses some of the impact without the number there. So there are lots of different types of moments that we talk about that are really important on Twitter and really get people jazzed. Political moments, and here we've got Modi just before going to vote in the Indian election, getting a blessing from his mother. Really special moment that from behind the scenes that he was able to share with people. A more recent example, and one of my favourites, was Bill Clinton speaking to President Obama, who recently got his own Twitter account, having a bit of banter here around, does the username stay with the House? Asking for a friend, obviously referring to Hillary. And I loved Obama's comeback. Good question. The handle comes with the House, not anyone interested in FLOTUS, which is the First Lady of the United States. Well, of course, Bill Clinton being in line to be the first dude sometime soon. News moments are huge on Twitter, and we often find that news breaks first on Twitter. Some recent examples of this are around the Charlie Hebdo attacks in France. A lot of people turned to Twitter, and that's where the news was really breaking quite quickly. And then we also saw the counterpoint to that, the Je suis Charlie, rose on Twitter and swept around the world. Closer to home, a big example obviously was the Sydney siege, where updates were coming throughout the entire event, throughout the day from both the police, the emergency services, people on the scene. I know in my office, which was quite close to it, we saw a really early tweet from Chris Kenny, who's a Sky News journalist, tweeting that there was something going on at the Lint Cafe. And that was sort of the red alert system in our office to see what was going on there and to search for more information. And sporting moments that matter. Sports is another really huge thing on Twitter. Pretty much anytime there's a big sporting event on, it just goes crazy and everyone jumps on. This is again showing some of the some of the access that you can only get on Twitter, where the German soccer team have tweeted just after winning the semi-final against Brazil to get through to the World Cup final. So more of that behind-the-scenes access. And this next slide here just gives you an idea of how the conversation travels around the world. So this is a heat map of the Brazil-Germany soccer game. So I'm not sure how many fans we have in the room here, but this was the game where Germany smashed Brazil 7-1. And these are mentions of either the Brazilian team or of the German team. So as the pummeling continues, you can actually see that there's more and more conversations springing up all around the world. And the really interesting thing, it isn't just sort of focused in, what you would consider to be the soccer-centric countries. It's because Twitter is based on those interests, so everyone's really getting on and sharing this global moment in conversation. And the last one I want to talk about, and I'll talk about this in a little bit more depth, is cultural moments. So this is really those shared common moments that we have in Australia, and we have so many of them. And I think this really speaks to live events. A lot of these really are based around cultural moments. This is one of my favourites here, where some hockey players at the Commonwealth Games snapped a quick selfie of themselves, only to discover that the Queen had jumped in the background, photobombed them, smiling. One of the things I love about this is that you rarely actually see the Queen jumping in and smiling in a picture like that as well. So she's obviously pretty happy to be in there. And also, just look at how this has been shared. This is, 14,000 retweets of this. And I think at the time, this became a news story in itself. So in Australia, we have lots of cultural moments that we all come around and we all want to talk about. And there's lots of points of conversation around. Anything from the Melbourne Cup, hashtag Christmas, or hashtag New Year's Eve. The one I'm going to talk to you a little bit now, of course, is Australia Day. And as I said, we worked with the Australia Council in 2014 and 2015 for the hashtag Australia Day campaign. So to share Australia Day your way. And what we wanted people to do there was to tweet us a quick snap, hashtag it with Australia Day, just to let us know how they were celebrating their day. One of the beautiful things about Australia Day is that it means different things to so many different people. So what we wanted to gather here was a true national snapshot of what the day meant to people. So we launched this year with some of the selected photographers from the previous year. Ricky Lee Coulter came as our celebrity guest, and we handed over the time capsule from the 2014 campaign. So some really great content generated in 2014, but 2015 was even bigger. This is just a little snapshot of just how big the day was. So we peaked at 670 tweets a minute of people sending in photos, hashtagging Australia Day. There were almost 300,000 tweets on the day, so almost triple the year before. So it's just a testament to the great work done by everyone at Australia Day Council and the National Museum of Australia to really get the word out there and encourage people to share this, and for Australians to come together and share how they actually spent this day. And just to look at some of the different content that we actually got coming through with the hashtag Australia Day on it. What I love about it is it's everyone from the Prime Minister, Ben Roberts-Smith, and Adam Goodes, to the royal family sending their tweets, their memories of Australia, to probably, my favourite, which is just some everyday people giving us a little snapshot into their lives and giving us a little snapshot into their Australia Day. So I'm just going to talk now a little bit about live events on Twitter, Australia being the perfect example of that, and just why Twitter is a great accompaniment to live events and why you might want to consider including Twitter in anything that you're running. As I said, Twitter's a live medium, so when something's happening in real time, that's when people get together to talk about it with each other. And we know that people turn to Twitter during events, so audiences shift to Twitter, attention grows, and people actually become more emotionally engaged. And we've actually, believe it or not, strapped people up to some little sensors and had them watching live events, and then people with Twitter and without Twitter, and have shown that the engagement, the emotional attachment to an event is actually considerably higher when they're with Twitter. A little bit creepy, but one of those things we need to do just to prove that what we're saying is actually accurate. This is really interesting in the fact that audiences shift to Twitter during live events. So what we've compared here is traffic to the top 10 publishers in the US to traffic to Twitter while something's going on. The first example is the 2014 Olympic opening ceremony. So this is unique visitors. So the traffic to the top publishers dropped by 6%, traffic to Twitter increased by 5%. Even more dramatic was during the 2014 Soccer World Cup. Overall impressions, so that's viewing of articles versus viewing of tweets, dropped by 37% for the top publishers, but increased by 107% for Twitter. And the other thing we're finding is that people are more engaged with brands during these moments. And I know that we're not so closely associated with brands in here, but I think if we're looking at, if we're looking at what exactly are you wanting people to engage with, it's during live events that people are more likely to embrace your content and to actually change their attitudes towards you or your account or your council or whatever it might be that you're looking to promote. So this is American research, but looking around things like the 4th of July and the Oscars, promoted tweets had a huge lift in engagement during these events. So we can see that there is that emotional attachment comes along there. This is just a little bit of an example about what you can do to promote key events on Twitter. Often people make the mistake of just promoting the event on the day. What we encourage people to do is to use Twitter in pre-event to generate buzz, share some teaser content, let people know what's coming up, and really start to build a bit of excitement for your event. On the day of event, you can drive engagement and conversation by live tweeting highlights. Twitter now allows you to put out live video. You can put out pictures, so you can really give people who aren't there an authentic experience of what it is like to be there. And of course, post-event, keep the momentum going by sharing anything that you've got. If you've got any footage that you've recorded on the day, if you've got any great pictures from the day, if you've got any great stories from the day, be sure to share them on Twitter and to keep that momentum going in the lead up to the next event. And I think this is something that the Australia Day Council did quite well with the hashtag Australia Day event, where there was a lot of discussion of it in the lead up so that people knew what to do come Australia Day. Throughout the day, they're encouraging people to share those pictures and also rewarding some of the audience who did do that with retweets and getting the message out there. And then post-event, look at some of the great content that was created. So this is just a little bit of a Twitter 101, just a little bit of getting started. So I'm hoping that these will be some tips that you can take away and start to use. I'm more than happy for you to get in touch with me if there's anything I can help with, of course. I'll race through this one. So this is our anatomy of a tweet. So profile photo, username, hashtag used in there. The little gears there where you can you change some of your settings and whatnot. Great thing to go and have a bit of a play around with. And just talk about building your brand on Twitter. So just make sure your profile really draws people in. So choose a profile photo that visually represents your brand and fits well in a really small space. The header profile as well is also, gives you a little bit of extra space there to showcase what you're about and what people can expect from you. And then, of course, the bio is another thing to make sure that, really captures quite easily what it is this account's going to be doing. Make sure you're following lots of people. So whether it's Katy Perry, whether it's Jeremy, whether it's Rosie Batty or the Australia Day account, get in there, follow things that are relevant to your interests, and see what they're talking about. A great way I find to do it is to actually find a couple of interesting people and see who they're following, and that's a great way to really expand your network. Use hashtags. When you use hashtags in your tweets, they become more visible. So on Australia Day, anyone who wanted to find what was going on, searching that hashtag Australia Day is a really, really easy way to get in there and capture the spirit of the day quite quickly. Start a conversation, don't be afraid to ask a question or put something out there to the Twitter sphere and see who comes back and answers. Great example I love is Julie Bishop, who lost an earring in Martin Place last year, who sent a simple tweet out just saying, has anyone found an earring? And this went pretty much around the world. There were stories in the Daily Mail in the UK and this kind of stuff about it. And join in a conversation. One of the things I probably love most about Twitter is that it gives you the ability to pretty much speak to anyone in the world, and I think that's pretty unique. If you're anywhere in the world with an internet connection and the Twitter app, you can talk to the President of the United States, you can talk to the Prime Minister of Australia. They may not talk back, but most of these guys will see what you've sent them. And be authentic, show people a little bit about what it is about you that makes you you. I love this one from Curtis Stone on Australia Day, who obviously loves surfing, just sending out a little bit of what he likes to do with his time. Some tips now on just enhancing your content. So we've done some research on what you can do to increase your chances of a retweet. And the two that really stand out there are to include a photo, 35% chance of getting a retweet if you include that, and 28% if you include a video. The other ones there are including quotes, numbers, or hashtags. But for the purposes of this, I'm just going to go through some little tips around video and photo. So if you are going to tweet a photo, make sure you put it up from the Twitter app. This makes sure it appears in people's timelines. It's really dynamic content and they can see it quite easily. The alternative to that is some people will post from Instagram or Facebook every now and again to their Twitter. Unfortunately, they don't let those pictures show on Twitter. So you can see the content's not quite as dynamic there when it's just a little link. Mode default to upload, so you can upload more than one photo on Twitter these days. These are the sort of things I love because when I joined Twitter, you could post a single picture. And this was just a year ago. Now you can post multiple pictures, you can tag people in pictures, you can post a video. So it really shows that we've gone beyond that 140 tweets that everyone knows us for. Video on Twitter is the other thing. So again, going back to what Stig was saying around mobile, 90% of Twitter video views are now on mobile. So increasingly that's the way the world's going. We've got 4 video options on Twitter. Mobile upload, where you can upload something directly from your phone. You can just capture a 30-second snippet and chuck it up there. I think that's really a great thing for events if you just want to grab a quick snapshot of what's going on. Vine, who some of you might know, which is a 6-second video app. Probably wouldn't recommend it for live events, but it's there if you've got the creative know-how. We have what we call our video cards, or our native video player, where you can upload up to 10 minutes of video. This isn't available to all users, but certainly if you're running a council account or an official account for a business or an organisation, that's something that if you're interested in, please do reach out to me, and that's something we can get for you. And our latest one is Periscope. Has anyone tried Periscope? That's also about the same we normally get. So Periscope is a live streaming app. So basically, I could have someone standing here filming this, and it would live stream to anyone who wanted to watch that in the world. So it's just taking, I guess, that insight that Twitter can give you into people's lives, or the insight that people want to give you into their lives or their business, to another level to actually see what's going on in real time. Twitter-hosted video drives more engagement than third-party video players, so links to YouTube or Vimeo or whatever it might be. So you get 2.5 times as many replies, 2.8 times as many retweets, and 1.9 times as many favourites. So just some simple tips to really sort of, I guess, boost your profile. Get your handle out there. Incorporate it into your YouTube videos or your other platforms. Do a Q&A from Twitter. One of my favourite examples is a Spanish town called Jun, where the mayor regularly jumps on and does Q&As with the town. The police commissioner gets on and does Q&As with the city. If there's a pothole in the street, there's a Twitter handle you can tweet to and say, hey, this needs fixing. So the whole city kind of runs on Twitter, which I think is fantastic, obviously. Use a hashtag to drive conversation. So, if you're broadcasting something, if you've got the facilities, chuck a hashtag on there so people know how to join that conversation you're talking about. And put it on your business card or email signature. You put all your other information there on how people can find you. Chuck your Twitter handle on there as well. And engage with your audience. If people are speaking to you, speak back to them. The favourite button's a really easy way to show someone that you've seen their tweet and that you acknowledge it. We have a 3-2-1 rule that we talk about in terms of a great way to engage with your audience. So for every 1 retweet, be sure you've already replied to 3 fans and faved 5 other follower tweets. So sometimes it can just be a matter of just sitting there and just, if you don't have much time, just have a quick look at your Twitter stream. If you've got people who are talking to you, send them a quick reply back, retweet one of their tweets if it's something that you like, or give it a little favourite. So some quick tips. Give it a go. Like Twitter is your platform to really get your voice or your organisation's voice out there. Be authentic. People sort of have pretty good BS monitors these days, and they can see through stuff pretty quickly. So make sure that you're actually being true to yourself, to your brand, to your council. Use best practices to expand your influence. So that's some of what I was talking about in terms of using the various video tools or using the picture tools to get the good content out there. Know the Twitter rules and tools. I haven't really talked about this much, but I'm happy to take any questions on this around user safety or trolling or any sort of offensive tweets or anything like that. Twitter is not the Wild West. We do have rules which users have to abide by, and we do enforce them. So make sure you know what the content boundary guidelines are, and follow your interests and your worlds. Follow the people who live near you. Follow other councils. Follow anything that you're interested in. Really have a look at what's out there and what they're sharing. And of course, follow Twitter AU and me. There's no point doing these things if I can't boost my followers. That's my handle. That's Twitter AU's handle. More than happy to answer any questions that you might have on Twitter. So feel free to tweet me anytime with them. And that's it. Are there any questions?
Nathan, you kind of delivered that like a tweet. It's fantastic. 104. I counted 141 words. It was amazing in that whole thing.
141 seconds.
141 seconds. I thought Vine was a ripper because if you say doing pre-content, you could do some really fun, very simple Vines, couldn't you, to then load up onto your site. Questions? I love that 3-2-1 rule. There's a question here. This will be Blacktown. They are on it, right? They probably know more. Oh, I beg your pardon. Bright eyes. Awkward. Someone from Australia wants to talk to you.
I'm Jenna from the Sunshine Coast again. We live stream our citizenship ceremonies, or just the Australia Day citizenship ceremony, to their family overseas and things like that. And recently we've been having trouble with providers. We originally used live stream, and then this year we used, it actually went through YouTube, and neither are working for us. So I've actually only heard of Periscope 2 days ago through a social media forum at work. Is it appropriate, or is there time limitations?
Yeah, it definitely is. It's so probably the biggest, the most amount of people I've seen on a Periscope stream at the moment, it's been about 5,000, and it's been able to handle that. We were at an event recently where we got in a professional streaming company and also streamed on Periscope, and Periscope was the only one that didn't crash. So it actually works really, really well. There's probably a few things you'd want to consider around, do you want people to be able to comment on the stream? And who can access the stream? Do you want it to be locked, or do you want it to be out there so that anyone can view it?
Does it appear on your page?
So Periscope stream will only last for 24 hours. Is probably the big issue to consider. So what you can do is when you start a Periscope broadcast, there's a little Twitter birds down there, and you can click him to say, watch this broadcast on Twitter now. Then it will be retained on Periscope for 24 hours, so anyone can log in and watch that. But you can also save it to your camera roll. At the moment, it's iOS and Android only, so you'd need to obviously have one of those devices set up and ready to go.
Great point, because that's something I thought you only had 24 hours, but you've now found a way to make sure we can retain it in your own.
Exactly.
However you capture it, and then obviously from that you can then choose to upload
whatever
it.
You want with it. Yep. I know Christopher Pine does that a lot. He saves all his and puts them up on his website.
Great. He watches them a lot too, apparently, too.
Yeah, big fan.
There's another person just here. We love Christopher Good, the Minister for Education. This is educational, Christopher. If you're watching, I hope you're enjoying it. Next person.
Hi, Lisa from Pittwater. Great presentation. I have a question on uploading photos via Twitter. I find that when I've uploaded a photo, it reduces the number of characters I can have.
Yes.
Is that because I'm doing it incorrectly? Or
No. So uploading a photo will reduce the characters by, I believe, 27 characters total. But you can upload up to 4 photos, and it will only be the 27 characters. Yeah, so you can upload multiple ones there. The other thing you can do to save some space is if you want anyone to know that they're in that photo, you don't actually have to put their Twitter handle into the content of the tweet. There's a little button where you can say who's in these photos, and you can tag their Twitter handle in there. So all designed to save you more space for more content.
Nathan, love it. And Nathan, if you say wearing a T-shirt that has lots of letters already on it, does that go for more than 27 letters, or will that still just count for 27 letters if it was one photo?
No, you're way over there.
Okay, way over. Well, got 150 actually. 2 tweets. Another question, anybody? This is a ripper, by the way. Question in the front row here. Stand by. Did Julia get her earring back?
I don't believe she did, sadly. I don't believe she did. But there was a Twitter account started at Julia Bishop's earring, which became very popular.
You can see her now. She's only got one pair because she's very thrifty. She's very thrifty. She travels economy. She books into a simple hotel. She walks like this now. She walks like this, poor Julia. Buy Julia another earring. Maybe one last question for Nathan. Can we go? There's an We don't take ums. We take questions. Thank you very much.
Most of the people in this room work with mayors and local members, VIPs. Can you tell us about VITs and how you've used them for some of your campaigns?
Yeah, so one of the things that Twitter actually does is when we've got VITs like mayors, like councillors, like a lot of politicians, we'll actually go and spend some time with them and do what we call best practice sessions. So we'll make sure that they're well aware of how to use Twitter and how to use Twitter safely. So what VITs can be really great for in terms of events is obviously they're high-profile people. They have a lot of influence, and most of them have a lot of followers. So what we'll often look to do, and what we've done with the hashtag Australia Day campaign, was identify some of these people who have these high followings and actually ask them to send tweets to promote the campaign. One of the things that works best on Twitter is when campaigns come up and they're organic. So if you can actually get some high-profile people to support your campaign and get the word out there, that can be a really great way to extend the reach of that.
There was another question. We haven't had a question in 2 days from the far right of the camera, Nathan, so stand by.
It's from the naughty corner.
Breaking the duck.
I just wanted to get your opinion on whether it's worthwhile using more than one hashtag. So for a lot of the councils here, they'll use Australia Day, but what if they wanted to create their own so it was specific to their council? Is there any merit in that, or does that...
Yeah, look, I probably wouldn't go more than 2 hashtags, and you want to sort of look at, I guess, what your strategy is behind having a separate hashtag, because if it's just to sort of monitor that conversation, then that's probably, you know, in your local area, that's a great way to do it. But you just want to be cognizant, I suppose, of not having 2 really long hashtags, which mean people can't tweet any content. And our advice is normally to go with what the hashtag that the community is using is. It can be hard to sort of get a hashtag up sometimes that you want to, that, you know, hasn't been properly embraced. But if your community is going to embrace that, I say go for it.
Yeah, so you could promote them together. So like hashtag Australia Day and Australia Day at Tamworth, for example.
Yeah, for sure. You wouldn't have many characters left, which is the thing to consider.
That's true.
Yeah, but
could you send out, Nathan, 2 separate tweets? Could you do one tweet for one and one for the other?
I would be all for multiple tweets.
Multiple tweets, okay.
Very supportive.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, Nathan, a ripper session, and Nathan and Stig have been very kind to actually offer their presentations, unusually because this is pretty serious business here, to us in the Australia Day community, which is fantastic. So thank you for that, Nathan.
Yes.
Nathan, I was so rushed to get up here. I actually had your gift. It's a running, hashtag where is my gift?
There will be tweets about this.
Thank you, Jeremy Lassick here, the CEO again, working very hard. And the I don't even touch people anymore now. I'm sorry. Well done, Nathan.
Thanks, mate.
Great work. Lovely.